Welcome, welcome.
Yeah.
Cool. Rachel will just give people a couple minutes before we kick off. Normally
Cool.
start at like 3 or 4 after, maybe 5. Trickling.
Oh, Ed, we need your new age drum for while we're waiting for people on this.
Yeah, I wish I brought it.
Danny and Zach, nice hats.
I thought I couldn't find mine the other day. I got really worried.
It's all right. You can always order more. I think we're due for another order. I want to get some with just the 3 on the front. So, good to see some familiar names.
Hey, Peter, thanks for joining.
If you guys want, feel free to introduce yourselves. We probably won't do a whole round of community intros because we've got a lot to cover. And as this gets bigger, that'll be harder. But yeah, you can intro yourself if you want. If not, hi.
I'll go. I'm Lauren. I'm from MicroSponsors. It's built on top of Ethereum, the 0x protocol, and now 3Box. Cool.
Hey, Lauren, good to see you, or hear you in this case.
Yeah.
Good morning.
It's early for you, huh?
Oh, it's real early for me.
Thanks for
On the West
joining.
Coast. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, hi everyone. Can you guys hear me?
All good.
Yeah, so I was going to introduce myself. I'm Peter Camille, head of product at an AI and blockchain startup called Acumen. Been following the success of 3Box and actually met Danny and another team member 2 weeks ago. And so when I saw this link to join a community discussion, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to learn more.
Welcome, Peter. Thanks for joining.
Thanks.
Cool. Rachel, feel free to kick us off. I think we should probably get started full schedule.
Cool. So hi, everyone. It's really nice to be on the first community call and speaking to some community members. So that's awesome. My name is Rachel. As I think quite a few of you will know, I've recently joined 3Box in the capacity of DevRel. And I've spoken to some of you already, but I'm really excited to be joining the team. I'm very impressed with everything that's been built in, just about a year, and incredibly excited to be working on a project that is providing both really solid tools for developers to build usable applications and start making Web3 much more human and something that users will want to use and developers will want to build with. I think it's messaging is really vital, so I'm incredibly excited. I'm also super pumped to be working on a project that is really kind of facilitating user control of data, and I think that's something we're all kind of aware of in 2019, just how much need there is to more user-centric data systems. So it's a really great honor to be working on one of those. To give you a little bit of my background, is previously I was working for another blockchain, Lisk. There I was in the role of tech evangelism, so also in the developer relations space. And before that, I was working for an identity company over in London, which was called Yoti, and I was a JavaScript developer, so working with React and Node.js. And even before that, before I worked in tech, I worked at a few other companies before that, but I have a background in teaching. So hopefully be able to bring some of the skills from education into kind of communicating with the developer community. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of me on this kind of community outreach. I'm on Discord, so please come over and say hi to me if you haven't already. I'll be at events, blog posts, and yeah, you're going to see a lot of me in the community. So please feel free to reach out. I'm always here to kind of take any feedback from the community and find out what the developer needs are. So hi.
Awesome. We're excited to have you, Rachel. Okay, now we have one more new joiner as well. So we were 5 for a while, now we're 7. Mike, you want to intro yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Mike. I'm pretty excited to be joining 3Box as a distributed systems engineer. I mean, the offering is fantastic. The team's fantastic. I think it's really important, like this whole vision of making distributed identity accessible. So I'm very happy to be joining. I'm excited to see what kind of tools like you, the community, will be building on top of this. And my role here, I see it as scaling our offerings to enable that.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, important stuff. All right, Rachel, is there any way that you could, okay, I guess like we can kick us off into some of our product updates now.
So I think the first thing on the agenda was to have a dive into the architectural diagram, the architectural blog.
Yeah, do you mind dropping that in the side chat?
Yeah. So bear with me 1 second.
And we'll pull it up and I'll share my screen.
Sorry about this.
While Rachel's pulling it up. So basically we've been getting a lot of questions in Discord, like ranging from how is 3Box structured? How many databases does a user have? How do you do encryption? What's this 3ID thing? And so we took some time the last couple of weeks to really outline like what 3Box is and write an architecture post. So Rachel just dropped it in the side chat for you if you want to follow along. I'll share my screen. Of course, I have too many tabs open, but let's let this load and share. And cool. All right, so 3Box architecture. It's a long read. It's pretty detailed if you want to go through it. But I could just jump straight ahead to this diagram. And so at a super high level, this is what 2 3Box users look like and how their databases are structured. So as you can see, there's 2 Ethereum keys. So let's just follow the path of one user. There's an Ethereum public key. The owner of that's a private key, as you know. Then a user links to it and creates a 3ID, which is like their root store. And in there, you can store things like other links to other databases and links to a profile, as well as add various authentication methods. So today, you might be familiar, you log into an app with 3Box, you sign with your Ethereum key. The next thing that Ode will talk about, Identity Wallet, really enables you to link multiple accounts and key pairs to the same 3ID. So you can control the same data, regardless of which wallet you use, which key management scheme that wallet uses, which authentication patterns and key derivation, and even supports contract wallets. So now you can link a bunch of all your keys to this 3ID, and then from there, it controls your databases. And so each of the databases connected directly to a 3ID is a key value store, one of which is the profile. You're probably familiar with the Profiles API. And then you can have an N number of other databases that are spaces. And those can be app-specific databases. Those can be sort of seen to be like folders. So apps can have multiple spaces. And really what spaces are separately access controlled from the profile. So apps would need to specifically get authentication or authorization from the user's 3ID to perform operations on these databases, such as update the database in any way and decrypt private data. And then as you can see on the bottom, you can also have threads, and threads actually are their own databases. They're their own Orbit feed stores. but they're referenced or followed and access controlled from users' spaces. So each thread or a combination of threads from a space can be authored by the user's space 3 ID. So there's like a couple levels of identity, and that allows us to do more and more granular access control and encryption eventually on threads. And so threads come in a couple types, but if you're interested, there's a bunch of docs in the rest of the article. But yeah, there's even details on encryption in the post. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, I would take a look.
Cool. Cool. And then I think the next thing on the agenda was diving into the identity wallet. I'm just going to post the link again in the chat box there. Also, just something that I forgot to say at the beginning, but if anyone has any questions during this community call at all, feel free to just ping them in the chat box and we'll pick up some of them in the Q&A session at the end.
Yeah, or feel free to just jump in if it's relevant to what we're talking about.
Cool.
Pretty fluid, not too many people. Cool.
Cool. So, Owen, I think you were going to talk us through the identity wallet.
Thanks. Yeah, so hey all. I'm just going to give like a short overview and intro to Identity Wallet, what that is, and why we've been building it, basically. So Identity Wallet is an SDK that can be used by wallets and also like client-side applications to create 3ID identities. And 3ID is basically the identity that you use with 3box to do like authentication and encryption access control. So the main reason we built this was to support, like natively have wallets hold the keys to a 3ID, and also enable us to like support type of Ethereum accounts or like other contract-based accounts, which requires you to have like multiple authentication methods. So instead of like only having like one Ethereum key pointing to like one 3box identity, 3ID, you can have multiple keys that kind of unlock your 3ID account. So yeah, this also enables us to like have mobile wallets that have the identity wallet support. Identity wallet also provides support for like Node.js applications, and I'm gonna give a quick demo of like how that could look like. And what's cool about this is like you can also use this 380 identity wallet. It exposes something called 380 JSON RPC, and that can be used through systems such as Wallet Connect. So you can have like a mobile wallet and applications on a desktop, and various other like setups. And yeah, it also improves kind of the security for keys, so they no longer have to live in like the browser. They can now live in safely in a wallet. And yeah, I touched briefly on this. Like we have a 380 JSON RPC that communicates between a wallet and a 3box SDK instance. Yeah, so let me just jump quickly into an example for this. So I'm going to share my terminal. If you give me 1 second.
Kames is going to talk about how he used it in a wallet coming up later.
Yeah, cool. So how's the size of this? Does it look, can you see the text here? Should I zoom?
That's good for me.
It's good.
Okay, cool. So the first thing we do is just like import 3box, import identity wallet. Then I just import like a prompt for like querying stuff from the user. The first thing I do is create an instance. This start function is just like the function that we run to run the program. First thing I do is create an identity wallet instance. And this takes a consent function and then a seed for the identity. So the seed is just like the private key of your identity. So the consent function basically allows the wallet to ask the user if this app has permission to access some specific space or parts of their data store. We then get the provider, the 3AD provider from the identity wallet. And then we can just pass this provider to OpenBox and create an OpenBox instance. We're then going to open the test space, and then we're just going to set a variable. So let's run this quickly. So node, this is called index.js. And what we do here is now you see that it's being created. It's 3box is connecting to the IPFS network. And now I'm being prompted to app with origin null is requesting access to your 3box. The reason it's null is because by default, the identity wallet, the provider it exposes, doesn't really know the origin. And I'll talk more about that later. But now we can see the consent function wants to access the 3box. We say yes. And now it wants to access the test space. So we say yes again. And now it opened. And then lastly, we read the variable foo in that bar. So I'm just going to quickly show you how it would look like when you create a provider that might be in like a extension or like a mobile phone, and you can get the origin from the connection you have. So right now I'm just going to do something simple with wrap provider with origin. This basically takes the request and wraps and adds an origin to the provider request. And now I just send a random origin. In reality, this origin would be derived from the web page, which is accessing the 3AD identity or requesting access. Now, if we run this again, did I save it? Probably not. Let's restart. Cool. Now it just says app with origin, my app, and they want to approve and approve. And yeah, that's basically it. So yeah, this identity wallet allows you to create Node.js applications, but you can also have a network communication protocol for this provider. Since this provider is just a request and then a callback, then that's a JSON RPC method. So that can be used over any network connection, which is cool. And that's also how Wallet Connect can provide wallets to connect with this 3AD method. Yeah, that's it for the identity wallet. Yeah.
Thank you, Oed. Yeah, so the next thing up actually was Ghost Threads, and I think you were also going to present this as well. I'll share the link again.
Cool. Yeah, I'll share my screen again. Let's see.
There we go.
Cool. So Ghost Threads is another feature that we released recently. And what this is basically a way to add a chat to your application. And what this means is that messages that are sent between users are not necessarily persisted anywhere. So our normal threads that we use for comments, we use OrbitDB to store the data and persist the data, so you can always see the history. Whereas Ghost Threads, the messages are only being persisted in memory, and if you close your tab, the messages will be gone. However, if someone else is online, they can send you the backlog of these messages. So it's a simple way to get a very lightweight messaging application without having to provide a lot of storage for the users. Yeah, and the way this works is that we're simply using the libpdp PubSub protocol, and then just adding a thin layer on top of that with signed 3AD signed messages by the user's 3ADs. And that's basically all there is to it. And the way you do it, use it, is if you open a 3box space, you can join a thread and set it to be a ghost thread. And then you can set how many messages, if you want to limit the amount of messages that are being persisted locally, depending on your performance option or considerations. Yeah, so that's like a quick overview. I see someone posted in the chat.
Yep, and I'll also add to that. We're in the process of working on a pin bot for Ghost Threads. So basically, you can just deploy what amounts to a 3-box client on a server that always is a peer in the room, and so you can like sort of provide some additional guarantees that your chat backlog won't go away if, let's say, all users are off of your site at the same time. So we do have a way of at least providing some additional guarantees, but generally for Ghost Threads, the persistence guarantees are less than they are in persistent threads with OrbitDB, but you gain scalability and performance.
So with the Ghost Threads with a pin bot would still be more performant than a persistent threads.
Yeah. Because you don't have to like do an OrbitDB sync.
Yeah, you get like less guarantees though. Like the pin bot might like remove something if it's like malicious. Like you have more trust in the system, but it's like really usually not a problem. Yeah, I got a question in the chat. I think that was related to the identity wallet. But basically, if the provider grants access, if that provider grants access to the whole user's wallet, can some assets be hidden from the user but allowed to be shared throughout the app? So the identity wallet kind of provides a way for wallet to selectively disclose which data apps can access. And that means that the user can kind of decide which spaces that the app can access. And that's the kind of consent function. And I had to like pick yes for like giving consent to an application.
Cool. So I guess the next thing on the agenda is looking at the plugins. And here is the chat box plugin. I think Kenzo, you were going to give us a overview of this and a quick demo.
Yep. Hey everyone. So I'm Kenzo. I'm the front-end developer at 3box. And over the past few sprints now, we have dedicated some of the front-end work to go towards building out our plugins. And really, we just want to create kind of Web3 alternatives to the Web2 essential building blocks in web development. So as you can see here, we have the Chatbox plugin that we have integrated into 3box Hub at 3box.io. And this consumes the Ghost Chat API that Oed was just talking about previously. So first you have to go to 3box.io. You'll find the button at the bottom. This opens up the Chatbox window. And really you can chat here with anyone else that's online. Seems like it's just me at the moment. But yeah, we wanted to, I think this was implemented with just as little as 4 props passed to one component. And we have some improvements to the Chatbox plugin planned maybe in the next sprint, such as listing off the people that are online, and what was it, adding a loading animation. But yeah, this was a fun little plugin to work on. We're hoping other Web3 dApp developers can integrate it into their platform.
Cool.
And obviously built with Ghost Threads, so like when we logged on, no one had been on, and so the history was cleared. For a while, I was just staying signed in and being a pin bot myself on my computer, but I guess I lost internet connection, and so it cleared the backlog. But this sprint, we're also deploying the Pinbot on Hub for the chat box, so the history like won't disappear.
When Intcom.
So I guess we're going to move on to the comments plugin.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think the sprint before the Chatbox plugin, we started working on, I think, our second component plugin after Profile Hovers. And so this adds a Disqus style commenting system to any decentralized application. Again, like the Chatbox plugin, it's just one component that takes about as little as 4 props and handles, I think, 3 different 3-box authentication contexts. So this is going to take my 3-box profile, put my name in the interface as well as the profile picture, can add a emoji along with a new comment. And I actually forget the login context that the demo uses, but I think right now it is logging into my 3-box. And then I can add a few more comments after having logged in. Is fetching comments here in real time. So if someone comments at the same time as me, you'll see it update right away. You can delete your comment. Now, if I were using the Ethereum address that is the admin of this component, then I would be able to delete others' comments as well as my own. And yeah, this is just another example of us trying to build Web 2 essential components in a decentralized way using the 3-box API, 3-box SDK.
Cool.
And
Thanks.
this won a UX award at DevCon for us. We submitted this and we submitted the hub. I think identity was one of the categories, so I thought we would for sure win that for hub, but we didn't. Instead, we won. We were one of 3 winners, and we won for the open track because the judges said that this would be a UX building block for all of Web3. So Lego blocks for UX.
Yeah, so that's awesome stuff. I think the next section we're coming on to is the community and the sort of integration section. So I'm going to kick that off by just talking about the MetaMask integration, which happened recently. I've just shared the Medium post there, and I'll share my screen as well. Here we go. So here we are. MetaMask is now using 3box to back up wallet data. As we know, MetaMask is ubiquitous in the kind of Ethereum space, so it's something that we're probably all using fairly frequently. But up until now, the user experience, particularly across devices and across browsers, has not been great, as all of the wallet data has been saved to local storage, meaning that your account name may be different in your phone versus on Chrome, etc. So now, excitingly, MetaMask has integrated with 3box to back that up to give you a seamless experience across devices. So we can see here, it's now been initially enabled optionally, but it will default to being the default option over time as well. And I can just show you quickly, if you haven't already switched it on, where you can do that. If you log into your MetaMask account, you can see like I'm definitely an Ethereum baller here. But if you go into settings, and in the advanced settings, you'll see there's actually, where we go, sync data with a 3box, and you can sync that to on, and then you'll get the same wallet data across all your devices. So it's something really nice for the community, and it's definitely going to make the user experience improve for MetaMask. Cool. So now I think the next thing is we're going to move over to the community section. So I think first up we have Kames. Kames, are you there?
Yes, hello, what's going on?
Cool. Kames, yeah, if you want to share your screen and fill us on all of the stuff that you've been building over the last month or so.
Cool, totally, yeah.
Rach, you can unshare.
Oh, I can.
Yes, the blocker.
Am I blocking?
Yeah.
How do I get that to come up? I do apologize.
No worries.
Stop there. There we go. My bad.
So, cool, give me 1 sec. Okay.
Ames, the math hacker.
Okay, well, okay, a little bit. We've been getting a little crazy with 3box and how we can use it. So I'll give some context. We were asked to kind of build a questing platform that was decentralized, and we wanted to use a decentralized content management system, so there wasn't many options, as you might assume. So we went with 3box, and we ended up building a React library that kind of wraps all the latest stuff that React came out with a couple of months ago. And what I mean by that is they switched to functional components and hooks and context and effects. So if you follow React closely, you'll kind of know it's a big shift. I won't go into the nitty-gritty details, but we basically have kind of wrapped a library around that functionality and then have exposed it so developers can easily add 3box. Instead of like importing Redux and a big state manager, they don't really have to worry about importing a big store, but they can manage their 3box data across their app. So whether a user is logging in or opening a certain space, or there's different authentication states. Like here, I just clicked, I'm logging in. Here, let me enable first. Here, I'll refresh. And so the point is, I'm enabled, and then I can log in. And then there's a few other components, like as you log in, developers can use, so you can control whether components are displayed or not. So like access authentication will only display components if I'm logged in. Access space will only show spaces if I'm logged into my space. So I'm logging into my space now. And so as soon as that space is open, a new component displays. And so we kind of needed it to basically control the different authentication parts to our app. And like, if you don't have your space open, we didn't really want to show you forms and allow you to submit data. So we set up a basic auth flow around 3box, and then just set up ways to add components to your React app. So any questions on 3box extensions?
No, looks pretty handy.
Yeah, we liked it. It simplified like trying to manage the state across what we were building. I'll show a preview of that. So we're currently working on a profile system. Like we're building what we call Mesh Hub internally for consensus, where we do tokens. And there's going to be a lot of profiles and people logging in. So we found it easy to manage state kind of using that app as opposed to doing it component by component. So yeah, it seems to have helped.
Nice stuff. Nice stuff.
Sorry, Kames, that's like what, one of 3 or 1 of 2?
I was going to say, should I keep going? Do you want to see more demos?
Yeah, you've got some time.
Okay, cool. Cool. And then the other one was a React Native wallet. And so the idea behind this was incorporate the new 3ID JavaScript library into a React Native application. Right now, I only have a lot of like the basic screens in place. I was just kind of getting the menu structure, thinking about how I'm going to incorporate some of the SDK into the flow of a React Native application. Do I want to show storage and spaces? Do I use the same language you guys are using? You know, do I think about it differently for users? So I think like most of the thought was kind of just getting some of the basics of that in place. And then also the ability to sign into Wallet Connect. So I think I might already be signed in, but let me see if if I can log in again. And so unfortunately, I forgot what app I had set it up on, but I did actually do send sign message, and you can sign a message using your 3ID wallet and then send that claim or that signed message back to the front end. But I forget which one that was open or which one I did that in. But anyway, so I have like the basic implementation for Wallet Connect integrated with 3ID. And so we're kind of pumped about this. And so I think what we also want to do with this project, Rapid, the team I'm working on, is really publish this and get this on Gitcoin grants. So I don't know if everybody's familiar with Gitcoin grants or not, but Wave 4 is about to happen. And what we're hoping to do is get this project published a little bit more, get like a team open source wallet kind of launched for this project, and then raise some funds and see if we can get some bounty money for people who want to contribute to the open source mobile wallet. So that's the next step for this, if anybody's kind of interested in either helping get some funds or develop for this. And I think that's it. Or unless the Note app, we could show that. Let's see. And then there is a demo app, whoops, that we built using 3box extensions. It's super basic, but I might as well show it off. You can log in, and basically what it does is it allows you to access your profile, access a new space, and then when you access that space, you can write private notes. And then this will automatically like rewrite to the same key, but allow you to do nested object data merges. So if that's interesting to you, but profile is loading a little slow, gentlemen.
Yeah, we've been getting more reports of that recently. We're gonna fix that.
I've noticed it particularly in like the last day or so. It like got slow, but other than that, it was like normally really fast. And so like opening space, and so this should, after space is open, let me make sure I'm in the right one.
And came so quickly while this is loading. React, just to clarify, like because you're using Identity Wallet in React Native with Wallet Connect, you're not actually doing any like updates with 3box.js in React Native. Just the ability to sign messages using Identity Wallet, right?
Correct. Yeah. So there's no. So I wonder what happened with this, but I'll do a screen share. But yeah. So with React Native, we did not do 3box and IPFS. It's just signing messages and using the ID wallet part. I think that was your question, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was a little distracted.
Definitely also share some of those links in the chat box as well, because it's some really awesome stuff there.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely will. I'll put it in the chat. Sorry, I'm like trying to multi-thread a few things. I'll put them in now.
Of course.
Kame's doing multiple things at once? No way.
No, it can't be happening. Cool. Well, that's all I got, guys.
Great. Thanks, Kames.
Cool. So I think next up, we spoke about React Native, but Swartz is going to give us a little bit of an update on what he's been working on with that.
Yeah, cool. Also, this is really cool. There's a lot of really impressive stuff going on. I don't have too much to say about the React Native stuff yet. I guess where do I start? The TLDR is that we're going to be making a 3box.js fork that's compatible with React Native, and it's in motion. So like we spent a couple days just figuring out exactly like what we need to build based on conversations with the community. I can share some docs with you. This is the spec that came out of conversations with a few teams that want to use 3box.js in React Native. And this is the development roadmap we put together to get there. So you can check those out, comment on them, give me feedback, whatever. In the next week or two, we're hoping to get back on development track for that. It's really hard to give a timeline estimate on this type of stuff because you're pretty much just like fighting battles against compilers and just deep in the React Native weeds. So yeah, I'm not sure like when this initial like sort of proof of concept will be ready. But there are a lot of like available tools to help make this stuff easy, or easier. Yeah. It's not it hasn't never been done before. So on that note, like if anyone knows any senior like React Native engineers, it's kind of like a weird skill set that someone might have done that we would look for, like just a second pair of eyes and ears to make sure we're not implementing anything that is like obviously not going to be maintainable into the future. Like if you know any freelance engineers that have done like React Native with crypto, those are probably the people that would have experience doing stuff like this. I've talked to a lot of just like regular senior React Native people who have never done this kind of stuff before. They're like writing native code or stuff like that, and we don't really need to do that now. So yeah, if anyone comes to mind, if they've used a package called React Native Notify, definitely, no pun intended, notify me. I swear to God, I didn't plan that. That just came on the top of my head. Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. Hopefully we're getting back on this in like next week or the following week after. I'm actually working on it right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Nice one. So I think the next update we have is from Lauren. Are you there, Lauren?
I am here and I am awake.
Oh, thank you for joining so early. Not the best always for that time zone.
It's okay. Hi. Should I take the screen?
Yeah,
Sure.
please do.
Does someone want to hand it off to me, or is there I don't think I have a control on my side.
It should be at the bottom of the,
Oh, the share. Yeah, okay, got it. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so just a quick intro. So Microsponsors is basically like an Ethereum-based platform where creators can quickly and easily create tokens that are auctioned to sponsors. So this would be for like a game developer or a podcaster or even like a social influencer or something like that. So the tokens themselves are NFTs, which makes them interoperable with gaming tokens, which is interesting. And it's built on top of the 0x protocol, which gives us the ability to run auctions and then do atomic swaps of assets to fill the auction. So I'm using 3box as like kind of a drop-in, almost like a reputation management piece. And so let me exit out of this for a moment, and I'll show you the UI integrated into Can you see that? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so these are like the listings for all the different, this is just the basic, most basic view, most basic sort. And so we have a couple buttons for each listing. So one of them is obviously to bid on the auction. The other one is to view bids. And then beneath that is to discuss. And that is where we'll find the 3box commenting piece. I ended up, so you can see it's I noticed that in the last day or so, it is actually slow, like the login as well. While I was developing, I noticed that sometimes it would be really fast and sometimes it would be slow. And then it just so happened yesterday when I recorded this, it was super slow. So this is built on 3box.js. I actually didn't end up using the drop-in React comments piece for a couple reasons, but the main reason actually ended up being because I realized once I was getting in deeper into integrating it into this, the rest of my application is more of a crypto application. And I realized that I needed more control over the UI because there's different threat models in crypto. Like you'll see this in social media a lot, like you'll see it on Twitter where when people are like shilling scams, they'll pretend that there's someone else. So I wanted to take away the ability to change the avatar out, and because it made it too easy to imitate somebody else on the platform. And maybe long term there's a way to figure that out, but I haven't figured it out yet. And I also have I have my own mappings back to content that lives in a registry on the Ethereum blockchain. And I'm hoping to figure out a way to make that more interoperable with 3box as well. But for the time being, I don't want those two things kind of mixing. And I also wanted to be able to show in the UI, for example, like who is the token owner, and who is, and also like be able to link back to other previous auctions that they've held, so that people who are buying can look at, you know, kind of what went down in their previous auctions or even afterwards. So that's the idea. I realized that while I was building this, that between 3box and microsponsors, that we kind of have like a rudimentary decentralized Instagram with the influencer marketing platform built right in. So that was pretty exciting, and I actually think this is really cool.
Nice, nice. Thank you for sharing that, Lauren. Cool stuff.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thanks for the feedback too on that. Both the UI requirements, which I think makes sense. We're thinking of some other ways too of how to limit the ability for people to imitate others.
Yeah.
And yeah, so be open to collaborating on some of that stuff. I think, you know, there's various ways you can do it, whether through like unique usernames, which you surface alongside of the profile. So like an ENS for micro sponsors, which you can't, like you have guarantees over uniqueness of name. And so you can, you know, like Twitter, call yourself whatever you want, make your picture,
right.
But the username stays.
Yeah, maybe it's within like a space. You could do that. I was thinking, yeah, I have a lot of different ideas about it actually, because there's a few different approaches you could take. One other piece of feedback is that I noticed when flipping between the comments, the React comments UI and the 3box.js, that 3box.js actually doesn't have feature parity with the comments UI, and I would love it to have, so that I know that if I'm flipping, if I'm just trying out a React component, that I know that I have access to all the methods, the same methods via 3box.js. So the toughest thing for me was getting back from, like through 3box.js, getting back to getting the Ethereum address back. And especially when I was getting the post back, I have to kind of jump through some hoops, like connecting a socket to IPFS and like pulling the Ethereum address out that way.
Yeah, that's a good point. We should have like a simple method for doing lookup from the AD to Ethereum address.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And it was also nice to actually work with 3box.js, like as a primitive sort of, so that I could understand how 3box works a little more. So that was also really helpful, because I always, you know, with a crypto application especially, it's like I don't want stuff going on that I don't completely understand exactly what's happening under the hood. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. But yeah, it was awesome. It was a great integration.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's exciting. So now I'll just take, I want to make sure we leave time for questions and open discussion. But I'll take 1 minute to talk about what's upcoming. So 2 quick things. I mean, there's a lot of things coming up, but 2 worth mentioning. So one is private threads. We are really trying to do encrypted threads from a space that are access controlled from a space. So basically you can do DMs with people. So if you're building like a marketplace and you want to, for example, negotiate between buyer and seller, or do a group chat where, you know, you can invite members and only people in the chat can read it. and build more scalable chat systems that way. That's coming out. It's got a couple ideas how we're going to implement that, but it's very early in spec. Do you want to say something about that for like 30 seconds?
Yeah, so there's a few things we're like exploring, and basically there are different options. Like one is super simple to implement that would allow us to have like all the kind of messages being private. However, like there's some metadata that wouldn't be private. So like you would have like be able to see who is talking to who, but that would be like a super simple addition to the current 3box threads. The other options is to like build something that's way more private, but that's going to require like a lot more engineering. And we're kind of right now trying to decide like what's really required for anyone who want to use like private threads in the beginning. Like we always want to move to like the most private option, but we're also like see that there might be use cases for like partially private that makes a lot of sense as a stepping stone.
Cool. And any open thoughts if anyone is considering or finds private threads interesting as you're thinking about your use case context? Any preference there?
Can you lay out the options and bullet points again?
So basically it comes down to like having like more fully private threads, meaning the messages and the sender and receiver is kind of unknown. Maybe you would need to like disclose that information to like the pinning service, because otherwise it would be impossible to know which messages to pin. The easier option that would be like fairly simple to implement is having like the participants in the thread be public, but the messages be encrypted.
That's interesting.
Why not both? Have an option for both, I guess.
Yeah,
like start with a simple one where you just have confidentiality and then add anonymity later.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely what we want to do like longer term.
But kind of give it different names, I guess.
Yeah, I mean I think that makes sense. We just want to make sure that like if we go with like the simpler version first, like that's actually useful to people in our community.
Oh well, from the use case that I was building for, it's definitely useful because I just wanted the confidentiality of the actual messages.
And could you maybe get some more being anonymous with creating like a temporary DID and then using that for chat and then proving your root DID to whoever you're communicating with? So like kind of tack on some other form of privately establishing a connection with the simple one and then chatting through that?
Yeah, I mean, things like that are possible. But yeah, that requires more engineering as well. And then like,
but that engineering could happen at the application layer and not, you guys wouldn't have to be concerned about it. As long as you provide the simple route, like applications could at least like then go build the tooling around that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because I think we're interested in notifications and using kind of like these threads as a possible push notification system. Yeah. And I think users would appreciate not necessarily putting who they are out there for push notifications, but at the same time, they may not even know.
There are also different target users, right? Because if you use Signal or other end-to-end encrypted messaging, you are used to not having that kind of information. So the compromising user experience is not for the same users.
Yeah, it's like interesting also like if you want to go to the road of like full anonymity, you can't really have anyone any service that pins the data because that requires kind of the service that pins the data to like know some kind of context about the metadata about that. So you can't really have like kind of persistence of the data easily in that scenario. So there's like trade-offs there.
All right. Thanks for the feedback. And one more is just another simple component. So what we're calling profile edit. It basically, once a user arrives in your app through onboarding through whatever auth system you use, whether MetaMask, Fortmatic, Portis, whatever, Ethereum, then you can like sort of click any button that you put in your app, whether it's like a dummy profile picture or something, and it will open a modal and lets a user create a profile, like view their 3box profile if they have one. Alternatively, opt to create an app-specific profile just for your app that your app will respect, and edit that information. You can also add optional fields to that as well. So you can like build profiles for your app with just a component. And so that will make things easy. But yeah, it has the ability to create app-specific profiles in it too. So, you know, unlike, you know, Giveth or something, I might want to be called like Michael Giveth, lots of ETH or something. And on my 3box profile, I just want Michael Senna. And so it's creating some distinction and flexibility in that.
This is more like a developer experience feature, because you could do that with spaces anyway, with just your own data structures.
Totally. Yeah, it uses spaces. So basically what we would do is save a default preference, like a key in the app space that just is like default profile or something. And it either says 3box or it just says the app space. And so you like look to that and resolve where to look up the basic metadata about a user.
Got it.
So I have a question. With that tool, is there going to be the ability to like upload profile images? Because I know you guys are doing your own IPFS and maybe want to limit how easy it is. People can upload files, but it would be nice as a developer if I could more easily just add an upload button, because I was going to go build that. But if that could be one of your plugins that we could easily upload like a new cover image or a new avatar from another website, I think that would be super sweet.
Yep, you can do that.
From this tool? Cool.
Yep.
Nice. All right. Awesome.
There you go. Yep. Thanks, James. So we're coming up on time, but sure, open questions. Anyone, or open questions or thoughts? Kind of the time's ours.
Are you guys thinking about doing a component that would be like a roll-up of all of a user's activity within a certain space? Like almost like a wall or timeline?
Interesting. Would you want Ethereum activity included based on that account, or just of that space?
It'd probably be configurable.
Interesting. Yeah, we can consider that. I think in the beginning when we put the wall on 3box Hub, we had ambitions of making just like an activity component, but never got around to it. But if that's something that you're interested in, yeah, we can for sure consider it.
Yeah, that would be great.
Great, thanks.
What are the cool things that you guys want to see with the new 3ID spec, or like any future thoughts that you can share with us? Just like what stuff is going on around that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, basically we're trying to create a more clear way to map applications to spaces and databases. Like right now it's pretty, we got it all working in the beginning, but you know, the mere fact that an app can just request to open a space and create it, and you know, I can request any name, and eventually as use of 3box grows, there might be like simple collisions in some of these things. So it's basically just about trying to add some more structure around like how keys are mapped to a 3ID. Right now that happens on our address server. You know, it's like the link is stored in the user's like root store, but you can't, but you need to, like, if you have an Ethereum address, you need to look up our address server to get the 3ID. And so like taking that and decentralizing that in some way, and as well like putting more structure around how apps are like registering spaces to users they're kind of like the core motives of what we'll probably be working on there. But it's still super early, so I mean there's like the design space is super wide, We hope to have something more structured and on paper, hopefully by the end of the year, but these things are hard because the space is so wide. But that's the target, at least, is to have some clarity on this by the end of the year.
Cool. I got one more question if no one else does. Small, or maybe not small. But so I know the bridge between Wallet Connect and 3box is a little difficult because I still have to do like UI components to confirm messages and all that. I want to see if there's maybe any movement or talks about like maybe doing a standard approach with Wallet Connect in terms of like some shared components that we can all kind of have for managing that pop-up, managing that request from that provider. So I'd hate to do rework and we're all going to kind of rebuild that same connection probably.
What do you mean? Like in terms of logic or UI?
So just when I pass like state from Wallet Connect into the 3ID provider, I still have to do a pop-up for, hey, do you really want to sign this message? Or do you really want to make this verifiable credential? And it would be nice to either like align with you in terms of Wallet Connect or what that might look like, or just create a nice bridge between Wallet Connect and the 3ID provider. So there's, yeah.
So you don't need to intercept the RPC message itself. I think the get consent function is like where you want to hook in the UI, right? The only thing that needs to be added from like when you get the Wallet Connect message that is sent to the wallet is like adding the origin.
Yeah, I'm just saying it would be nice to have a little library that handles all that connecting and components, and we just like install it, and it's like, well, connect in 3box, and then here's your UI, and like I don't have to think about it ever, and it just works. I guess is kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I know. Origin. Like, I should have asked that before, but why do you need the origin again?
To see which app is requesting access to the space, or like access to the user's data.
But technically, Wallet Connect already scrapes that from the webpage.
Yeah, but it's not included in the kind of RPC call.
It's included in the session request.
Yeah, so you need to like add that into the RPC call. That's the thing.
I think that could be fixed, the origin part. Because once you get the origin part, then you get like the consent callback. I mean, like kind of providing components for UI, it's good if you have just a bunch of developers that want to try, but like most people just want to do their own thing. Like from my experience for WebCheck Connect, it has been like very useful for people who didn't want to support anything else rather than MetaMask, and now they can support Wallet Connect, Portis, Informatic really easily. But I just get so many requests to update the UI in every single way that I just tell them that it's such a simple library that you might as well just do your own components. But other than the UI, I'm not sure how much we could fix besides the origin, but definitely we should fix the origin part. But I think that for wallets, like they are very picky about their UI. It would be for dApps where they are a little bit more flexible on providing those components. So in my view, I don't see the UI components as valuable.
Yeah,
for wallets.
They're a little bit different for me because we have a suite of things we're going to build around this potential mobile wallet integrated with Rimble and a design system. So we actually we do have a need. So whether you guys want to coordinate or not, it would be nice, but I'd say there is a demand for it. But anyway, I don't want to.
Yeah, we can coordinate because essentially too, like MetaMask or any browser system, if it integrates browser wallet, if it integrates identity wallet, and it's going to be like serving those, signature requests for user in some way, they also might need a component. We're going to talk to them too, but yeah, now MetaMask is just using like the browser notifications to do with their extensions, but since we're doing an extension, we can also provide hooks into some UI. Because now once we deviate from the personal sign method, we won't get like the normal MetaMask pop-up. We'll get like a custom browser notification right now with the extension system. But we can, I think in the future releases, they're going to be enabling developers to write custom UI for these notifications. And so similar type thing.
Got some questions in the chat.
There we go. Most used app of 3box to date. So biased answer, but 3box Hub I think for sure. Second real answer is MetaMask. MetaMask just has so many users that, like, you know, even if 3% of them turn on backup, it's a lot. And once in a future release, MetaMask is going to be making this not optional. So like right now, it's optionally turned on, but in a future release, it will be on by default. And then basically all the MetaMask users theoretically will have $3. So yeah, private.
Gotta go. See you guys.
See Pedro. So I see Grant came in late, but how are plugins for React Native going? We need to get 3box working in React Native first, and Schwartz, who actually just hopped off, is working on that. He said that they have a spec. Let me repost it for you. So here's the spec. And they're going to start development hopefully within the next week or two. And then once we have a library, a 3box.js library that's compatible in React Native, then the plugins should be able to work in React Native.
There was one up above about EIP 1271 and having contracts have 3box accounts. Joel, do you want to talk about that?
Oh, 1271?
Sure. So we actually support linking an Ethereum contract that supports 1271 to a 3box account, and basically then you can use Identity Wallet to add the different keys as authentication methods to this 380. So yeah, that's supported.
Yep. All right, what else do we have here? Is 3box interoperable with anything Evernym is doing? So Evernym and Sovereign, we've been working with them for a long time. Our team formerly came from Uport, where we co-founded the Decentralized Identity Foundation with them and have been working on the DID spec since the beginning. We actually have a call with the Sovereign team, like Nathan George and Sam, I think next week, to chat about some of these things. Generally, we're based on DIDs, and you can do verifiable claims in those ways. Evernym, Sovereign is more like the standards body. Evernym is like more the proprietary hub implementation, and I think they do some interesting things with like link secrets and certain auth systems. But generally, Sovereign or Evernym's hub is designed to be run on a server, and so it has like traditional ACL, more traditional ACL-based systems. And 3box right now uses cryptographic access control, and data is stored on public IPFS. And so there's the difference in that, like they can make certain assumptions about access control and hosting, and we have slightly different ones, but sort of the core like DIDs and signed messages are interoperable. And so you should be able to like back up one to the other or like export one to the other with some transformation, I'm sure. But like they like should work together, and will probably be moving closer in the future. But yeah. Answer your question? Yeah, cool. Any more questions? All right, everyone. Then thanks for joining. We're going to try and do these more regularly now that we have Rachel on board. And so, yeah, maybe once a month, maybe every 6 weeks, we'll figure out what works for us and you. And then we'll be back in touch. We have a recording of this, so we'll also send it out that we have your emails when you signed up. So you'll get this in your inbox maybe later today or tomorrow. All right. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks so much, Mike. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.